Welcome back, you guys. I'm Eric. Today I'm going to give you another update on the world of Rynaga, and today it's really about a project that's within this bigger project, and it's called Iconica. Iconica is a tabletop turn-based strategy game that we created in 2007, and it had been in development for a little while, but 2007 is when we first published it ourselves. This tabletop game since then has been featured on Wired.com. It's also got a mention on Penny Arcade and a lot of other local channels and things here locally in Phoenix. But the reason why I wanted to do a video on this is because I haven't for a while gotten my act together and did a video to show people how this game actually works. So that's what I'm going to show you today. A bit of background real quick on why I got into game design and what motivated me to do it. In 2007, I was working as a designer at a part of a marketing team, basically, in a corporate environment. And I'm at my cubicle, and it kind of hits me that with all these stories I'd been writing for World of Rynaga from a younger age, my interest in games was definitely there. I'm part of Gen X, so that's part of who I am. Gaming is just natural to me, not only having an interest in games, but making games and enjoying the type of games that bring people together. So it kind of hit me that I could make my own. So that's really what motivated me to start looking into that. So it took me a couple years. I did a lot of research into the type of game I'd want to make, and I decided that the game I wanted to make featured characters that live on Rynaga. And these characters could be something that people could interact with and have a game experience with. So that is how Iconica came to be. It really isn't too much harder to understand than that. It was just a love of games, really, that drove me to research getting into it. So with that said, what I'd like to do is first tell you about what Iconica is. Iconica is a tabletop turn-based strategy game. It's pretty light strategy in that it's accessible to the family. So kids as young as 10 and maybe even younger have taken to the game, have got into it with their parents, with friends, and it skews, it's the kind of game that just appeals to different people of different ages. And in terms of the characters themselves, each one is unique, so there are no junk cards in this game. Every character that's in this game is capable of greatness during the game. So that kind of leads me to what Iconica is not. Iconica is not a collectible card game in that you have to build this, uber awesome deck with all the most expensive cards, and you have to spend an arm and a leg to get there doing it. Those games are cool, they have some value. It's just that this is the type of game we wanted to make that was much different than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a demo, and let's get into it. We're going to start with how to play, how to set a game up. Okay, so to begin, I pretty much have set up a Iconica match here on the table. My opponent has chosen 3 characters, and I have chosen 3 characters. Now before I get into the demo of this real quick, I wanted to just give a quick synopsis of the characters themselves. So if I take this Sentinel card and show you a little bit up close, you'll notice a few things about the character itself. So each character has its archetype name. In this case it's a Sentinel, and a place where they hail from. In this place, Lilia, which is a country on Rynaga. They have a racial background and then also a backstory that kind of describes a little bit more about who they are and where they come from and what motivates them. Each character also has a health meter function here on the side of the card, and this is where damage and healing is applied to with a marker, and I'll show you that in a minute. Every character also has a faction alignment, a class, and a type that they are. So those things will make more sense in the rules, but they factor in really to the choices of characters that you choose and how diversified your party is that you make up at the beginning of the game. Each character also has a set of actions. These are the actions that you'll be rolling dice for to deal to your opponent. And then characters also have a final act at the bottom that is a kind of a powerful action that they're able to take or attempt when they reach the skull tile and they've lost all of their health. So it's a last-ditch effort kind of to swing that game back in your favor. So let me show you real quick how this game would function turn by turn. So like I said, we've both drawn 3 characters. That's what we balance the game for. Some people like to play longer games, so they'll add a couple more characters and they'll add a 5-on-5 sort of game. But in this case, we have 3 characters each. We've taken turns selecting characters at the beginning of the game, and that's where a lot of the strategy comes in. Knowing the characters and which cards counter well against others, it becomes almost like a sort of character-driven chess game where you're trying to really balance out your opponent's choices with the choices you make. So let's say it's my turn. Rolling 2 dice, a black die and a white die, these are d6. When you roll these, you're taking an action roll. And your action roll is really what determines the number that is available for your action during your turn. So, or numbers, I'll explain that here. So let's say on the white die I rolled a 2 and the black die is a 4. You'll notice that the white die applies to any of the actions that are in this white area on each character. I can take any number 2 action on one of these characters against my opponent. The number 4 on the black die corresponds to this pointer that you'll see on some of the characters' numbered actions. I don't have any here that apply, but let's say that this red marker was on 4. If I used that action, I would basically gain a bonus for this character, and that bonus would entail some healing and a removal of any negative status effects that are in play. While I'm on the subject of status effects, we have these cubes that are colored, and these represent some of the different status effects that you can deal to each other, such as stun, or the green marker, which indicates poison, the blue marker, which indicates restoration, which actually can heal your character, and then fear, this purple marker, which can prevent a character from acting for multiple turns if it's not rolled off. So if I rolled this and I decided that I was going to use a number 2 action, for instance, this action with this Night Watcher is called Stealth Movement. Your opponent may not use any number 3 or number 4 actions on their next turn. So that would be, in effect, that would be a condition placed upon their next turn that they then would have to comply with when they went to take an action against me. So really, the object of the game is to win by attrition, to break down your opponent's defenses and eliminate their characters. That's the game in a nutshell. And as I mentioned earlier before I started this tabletop view, you're going to have maybe some questions about other details about the game. Please feel free to email me. Again, it's rynaga@gmail.com. I'm the illustrator of these characters and the cards. I do all the design myself. And then I spend a lot of time working with local gamers to test the game and really refine the balancing system. I have a lot of good helpers for that, and I'm just so grateful that I have that help locally. So anyway, that's a game in a nutshell, and we'll move on to the end, wrapping this episode up. So that's an overview of how Iconica works on the tabletop. There's obviously going to be maybe more questions you guys might have as you've seen me do this quick demo. Feel free to email me at rynaga@gmail.com. That's rynaga@gmail.com. So just a couple quick items as we close this episode out. Who will like Iconica? That's a question that I get asked often. This is an indie game, so people often don't know about it, and they ask who would be the kind of people that would like this game. So what we usually say is kids 10 and older are going to catch on pretty quick. I mentioned that a little bit at the outset of this video. But it's also maybe kids younger than that. You know, children are so smart, they pick up on things pretty quick. So 10 and older, anyone who likes fiction, who likes original stories, who's a lover of RPG games and board games, or who grew up playing those types of games. We have people who love other collectible card games that pick up on Iconica and they really love it. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the types of people and personalities who might like Iconica. The setting is a science fantasy sort of setting. So if those things appeal to you, if story appeals to you, I think you should check it out. Where is Iconica now? That's another question that I like to kind of continually update, because Iconica is more of a gaming project. It's not a game that's ever going to really be done. As long as I live, hopefully that's the goal. But we're always releasing new things to help people experience something different with the characters they've already invested in. So, for instance, Iconica Travels is a new story-based add-on that we're going to add to this gameplay. We'll do another video on that. I won't go into it right now, but it's full of story, adventure, gear, all sorts of discoveries you can make in a more scenario-based or campaign-based interaction with your friends. So look out for that. How to get your hands on Iconica. So we sell, it's an indie game like I mentioned, so primarily we sell online at Etsy. So if you go to etsy.com, I believe it's /World of Rynaga, you should be able to find our store that way, and we keep that pretty up to date. We order in small batches, so everything that's there is new stock. We don't sit on stock. I don't want to fill my house with tons of stuff to sit on, so we tend to be very just-in-time ordering, and it's a tight ship that we run, but it keeps the stock fresh for you guys. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to make a real quick mention that there are some links in the description below to the Wired articles that have featured Iconica, to the Penny Arcade mention that Tycho gave us, and also some links to other articles you might be interested in. So thanks again. That's an overview of Iconica. Again, if you have questions, hit me up at rynaga@gmail.com. Thanks, you guys, and safe travels.